Hello and welcome to a new review of the new Game of Thrones episode, The Bear and the Maiden Fair. Alright, episode 7 of Game of Thrones. The Bear and Maiden Fair was a great episode. I have to say this this would go in like my top 5 favorite episodes. This one was really good. So let's start with the things I liked. So the first thing is, well, we get more Jon and Ygritte together. What I really like about their relationship is that Ygritte is a really different woman. She's not like this highborn girl who, has never wielded a sword or a bow. No, Ygritte is a much more badass woman. She knows how to take care of herself, but at the same time, she kind of not. But her relationship with Jon is really interesting because they have this conversation. Well, she sees this tower, this really small tower, and she asks if it's a palace because she's never seen anything like that, beyond the wall. But it's really funny to see how she reacts when she gets to the north and or south. But her relationship with Jon is one of the best relationships I've ever seen on screen, and it was really good in the book too. So I really like that. The relationship is really good. And Daenerys Targaryen, she is, really stepping up the game here. So, what's going on here is that she's got to a slavery city called Yunkai. And this city had over 200,000 slaves. Jorah Mormont, he told her that, and then she said, like, well, then we have 200,000 reasons to, take this city. So she meets with, the Lord of Yunkai or something like that, and, he, of course, doesn't want to give up, the city, and he promised to give her ships and lots of gold, but she doesn't care about that. She wants the city to be free of slaves. So she basically just declares war on Yunkai, and it's going to be really interesting to see that. So Daenerys is really stepping up the game here, and her dragons is just getting more and more bigger, and it's just really awesome. One scene that I really loved was, I remember from the trailer, one of the first trailers, we saw a clip where Tywin was walking into the throne room, and we finally got that scene, and he meets with, he finally talks to Joffrey. We haven't actually seen a scene in the series where he talks with Joffrey. It was episode 10 when Joffrey, declared Tywin as Hand of the King. But we didn't really get a conversation, but we finally did this time, and it's really awesome to see how much power Tywin has. Even though Joffrey is king, he's still just a little child, and he sits on the throne, really laid back and cool, and he talks to Tywin. Tywin is down there with the stairs, and Joffrey asks why isn't the council in here, in the castle, why is in the Hand of the Tower, and Tywin, he walks up the stairs, and then he stands over Joffrey. He doesn't say anything. He just stands over Joffrey and looks at him, and Joffrey is like, you can see it. You can see him in his eyes that he's just really frightened, and like, oh shit, I shouldn't fuck with Tywin, man. He's going to fucking annihilate me. And I thought that was so funny. And and Tywin, says, Tywin, he doesn't want to, he doesn't take no for an answer. Tywin is a real boss here, so he asks Joffrey if he would like to have his king's guard carrying him, up the stairs to hand off the tower. So that scene was really, really good, and it was also nice to see that Joffrey knows about this with Daenerys and the dragons, because as far as I know, in the books he never really mentioned that, because in the books Joffrey didn't really have, he was just king. He wasn't, he didn't have like much power. Tywin, he is like the real king, kind of. He's like the one who rules, and he kind of does that in the show, but it was like Joffrey didn't get to know anything what was going around in, Westeros and across the Narrow Sea and stuff. So it's really cool to see that in the series, that he actually knows some stuff, that he's not a complete idiot. So in the season we've got a lot Joffrey things that I actually really like, even though I hate the character. I love to hate the character, but I like to see that he's not just there to torment Sansa. Since he doesn't have Sansa anymore, he kind of you kind of get some other feelings about him, because you see him from different perspectives, from from Tywin and Cersei and Marjorie. So I really like that. And we get more Jaime, and I have to say that the highlights from season 3 is Jaime. He really shines in season 3. This is like one of his big moments in the book, and that's where he leaves Harrenhal, but Brienne, she has to stay in Harrenhal. And halfway through, Jaime is being taken back to King's Landing. Halfway through the road, Jaime, he decides, fuck it, I'll go back to Harrenhal and I'll bring Brian with me. And one thing I missed from this episode was that in the books, he had actually got really far. He wasn't that far away from King's Landing. He was far away from Harrenhal, and he hadn't really decided. He was sure he was destined to go to King's Landing. He didn't really care about Brian until he had this dream. He had this nightmare where he and Brian, it was a really weird nightmare, but a lot of crazy shit happened. But he dreamed about this bear and everything. It was really fucked up. But then after he woke up, he decided, I want to go to Harrenhal and save Brian. That didn't happen this episode. I kind of missed that, because the dream was really fucked up, and it would be really cool to see that in the episode. But we didn't. But yeah, Jaime, he decides, he says to one of the soldiers, like, if you take me straight to King's Landing, I'll tell Tywin that you cut off my hand, and if you take me back to Harrenhal and we get Brian with us, and I'll say that you're a savior. And of course, the guy, he said yes, of course, and they go straight back to Harrenhal. And Jaime, he sees that Brian is in a pit along with a bear, just as he dreamed. Well, not in the episode, but in the book, he dreamed of a bear. And that happens when he gets to Harrenhal, and you see, the brave companions, they're standing around the pit and they're singing, the bear and the maiden fair, and Jaime, he jumps down the pit and he saves Brian and, battles the bear, and it's just a really awesome scene, and the music is excellent. So yeah, that was the highlight of the episode, and one that I've been looking forward to ever since I read the book. But since he's going to King's Landing and all that, one thing I have to say that I miss from the book, well, I miss, because, well, I wouldn't say I would miss it, but kind of a complaint is that in the book he had a really long fever after he lost his hand, and he lost a lot of blood. and you know, you get really high fever of that, and it didn't really look like he did that in the show. It was only when he was in the bathtub with Brian you saw he fainted at the end of that scene. But you know, long after that, that was why he got the dream. Halfway through, you know, to King's Landing, he was still having a fever, and that's when you know, when you have a fever, you get a lot of weird dreams, and that's when he got the dream and decided he wanted to go back to Harrenhal and save Rhaenys. So, that's kind of a complaint I have, but you know, it's passable. Alright, so I got two things more I want to say. Rob and Talisa, or Jane, is her actual name. We got some scenes, one scene in the beginning of the episode with them together, and that was nice. You know, kind of warming up to episode 9, if you know what I mean. And yeah. And one thing I also want to say is Arya, she gets captured by the Hound, which is also kind of like a warm-up to episode 9. For those who has read the book, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I really like the scenes from the books with Arya and the Hound together. It's I like their chemistry, kind of. It's really cool. But yeah, anyways, this was a good episode, really good. Definitely in my top 5 so far. The highlights was, of course, when Jaime and Brienne battled the bear and escaped from it. So yeah, great episode, and I'm really looking forward to next episode. And there's only 3 episodes left of season 3. Man, time is going so fast. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and please press like if you liked it, and if you really liked this video, then and you like my other videos, then please hit the subscribe button, because that would make me quite happy. Alright, so goodbye.